Hi everyone. So this vlog is about a current theme that keeps reappearing in my own life, as well as in the lives of some of the clients that I've been seeing. And that theme is boundaries. Now, when there is a theme that keeps reoccurring, I tend to find that that's the universe letting me know that it's time to address it. So a few weeks back, one of my clients does coaching on the side outside of her full-time job. And she asked me, how do I establish boundaries with my clients? And I laughed and I made a face because I, for one, am not the greatest at establishing boundaries when it comes to my own private practice. 3 years ago, when I branched out on my own, I made it a point to be a little more available than a normal therapist would be because, again, I was starting from the ground up and I wanted to offer more flexibility, especially for clients that work late jobs, early jobs, crazy hours. I've been in so many different fields where I know everybody has such a different work situation, and I wanted to make sure that I could accommodate them. Sometimes, though, I find, and as of late, that I may be a little too accommodating. And so when you get to that point, when you feel not that you're being taken advantage of, but you feel tapped out or drained or frustrated or maybe angry, then maybe it's time to take a step back and reflect on how you can change that situation for yourself. So getting back to my client, I mentioned to her that especially since she's coaching younger kids, the individuals that are reaching out to her after hours or on the weekends are normally the parents. With that, I recommended that at the start of every season to either send out a letter or an email or address the group as a whole when you first meet with them about your working hours and about the fact that after these working hours, if they have any questions, comments, concerns, that they can reach out to you to set up a time that you can speak with them. However, you'll be getting back to them when you're back to those working hours. So for me, I started to put my phone on do not disturb after 9 p.m. And I am a very early riser. That do not disturb gets turned off around 6 a.m. That's when I will address the emails. That's when I can respond, to the text messages. But I've also made my clients aware that I started to do that. And there is no backlash with that. A lot of times when we see a professional or when we see a therapist, we kind of forget that they have a life outside of what they do. And I've found that my clients are very respectful of my life. And a lot of times when I do get the in the middle of the night text or a message first thing in the morning or, after I'm done seeing them, if there's something they forgot, I know that they know I will get back to them and that they're not going to be ignored and that I will address whatever it is they need. So boundaries are extremely important, especially in the working environment and especially if you have your own place of business, your own practice, your own side job. And I want you to know that it's okay to establish rules for that. And it's a lot easier if you establish it up front, set the tone, set the expectation, be clear, and also make sure that you follow through with it. Because unfortunately, sometimes if you give a little, people are going to want to take a lot more until you get to a point where well, this is too much. So I also want to bring up the fact that saying these things is a lot easier than actually following through with them. From my own personal experience, because I care very much about the people that I work with, in my own practice as well as in, some side jobs that I have taken on, I never want to hurt another person's feelings. I never want to make somebody feel uncared for or disregarded or disrespected. However, you can't forget to put yourself first. You can't forget that you're only one person. And if you keep giving, and allowing your cup to run completely dry, you're going to have nothing left for yourself. In my own experience, when I get to that point, and it takes a lot to get me to that point, I feel tapped out. I feel drained, and I begin to feel angry. And being angry is never a place to address anything. Being angry is never a time to sit down with somebody. It's a time for you to work through that anger and then come up with a solution that would be best for yourself. So, a little backstory for me. I felt as though one of the jobs that I was doing on the side was asking more of me than what I was really hired to do. And I started to become angry on my way there. And I would be extremely professional while I was there, but then I'd feel drained when I was leaving. And it's very weird because people would think being a therapist is draining, and it really can be for certain individuals, but I usually don't get drained in my own private practice. I thrive on it. Like I get energized by it. But in this situation and in this job, I was getting drained and finding myself being tired before, it was even evening time for my own sessions. And I started to recognize this isn't okay. So why am I starting to feel this way? Why am I getting angry? And when I get angry, I get silent. I get quiet, which is also not who I am. I am very energetic. I'm very optimistic. I'm very positive. I'm very bubbly. I'm animated, as you can all tell. So when I start to get quiet, something's wrong. But not everybody's going to address that, and not everybody recognizes those social cues, and not everybody has the emotional intelligence to understand, okay, maybe I'm crossing a boundary or asking too much of this person, so they don't realize it. And that's when you have to address it. And so it was kind of hard for me to do this. Not really hard, but it was hard for me to deliver it in the way that I wanted it to be received. And I wanted it to be received in a thoughtful, kind, caring manner. So I did something that I don't normally do. I reached out to 2 friends of mine for them to offer me assistance and guidance on how I was going to deliver this message. And it's weird because I am usually the one that people go to for that assistance, guidance, and support. And for me to put myself in the opposite role of the one needing assistance, it was kind of nice, but also awkward for me because I felt like I should already know how to do this. And I do, and I did. However, I didn't like how I was coming across. And so getting another person's perspective, somebody who loves you and cares about you and knows you and understands the situation, really helps kind of ground you a little bit and gives you that extra push of, hey, all right, we can kind of maybe reword this, or maybe you should take some time and maybe write another draft of it. And I ended up speaking to these two friends, and they were both so wonderful with being there for me. And it made me realize, you know what? It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to take yourself out of always being the one that people go to and always being the sounding board for others, and allow people in my own personal life to be the sounding board for me. And I was able to send out a message to this other, place of work to kindly explain to them, the role that I was hired for, and that the position that they're putting me in is not acceptable for me to be put into, and to offer other ways for them to get the assistance that they needed. So I feel better. I feel more relieved. I still feel a little uncomfortable because I don't like the fact that I had to create a boundary, but it's okay to have all those feelings and then some, because again, what it's really showing me and what it's showing you is the fact that you care, and you don't ever want to make somebody feel like you don't care, and you never want to make somebody feel any kind of negative feelings. But it's also okay to stand up for yourself, and it's also okay to give yourself a little bit of a break and some breathing room to figure out what it is that is best for you, and how you want to move forward with that. And so To conclude, I just want to let you know that boundaries sometimes are really hard to create. However, they're really important to create. They're important for your well-being. They're also important for other people to recognize maybe their actions or ways of looking at you or expectations of you need to be readdressed, reevaluated, and changed. And the only way they're ever going to do that is if you speak up and say something, right? That's my message for today.